It's that time of year where you're probably looking at your hanging baskets and thinking, oh man, they need a little help. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and today I'm going to give you 2 tips on how to make your hanging baskets just look a little bit better and take you through the entire summer. Around the 4th of July or so, it always feels like that's when a lot of times people's hanging baskets just start to look a little sad, a little tired, and just not as happy as what they were when they first originally bought them. A lot of the reason is because you're not fertilizing. Fertilizing is an important step to keeping your hanging baskets looking great throughout the summer. But another thing, in addition to the fertilizer, is sometimes your plants, they just need a good haircut. So now is the perfect time to go ahead and give those plants a haircut. Now this hanging basket here, it looks pretty nice. It's actually really huge, but I know that it's going to kind of start going downhill now that we're here in the heat of the summer. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this baby up and show you how to get it fertilized properly. So this is a part where many of you are going to probably shed a tear or two because whenever anyone sees us doing this in the garden center, they're just, what are you doing? Stop, stop. But this is going to make these plants just happy, and it's going to make them last all season long. So what I recommend is this time of year, taking your hanging baskets, and I have this one here setting on a shopping cart, and I'm going to get it right on the edge. And actually, let me get rid of this other one because it's kind of distracting. So we've got it right on the edge. You can see this planter has a ton of length going on. I mean, if I was entering having the longest basket in the neighborhood contest, I'm sure right now I would be winning because this planter has some excellent length to it. But what's going to start happening, especially if you haven't been fertilizing, is you're probably not seeing the flower coverage here at the top like what we have. You've got maybe stringy looking foliage, maybe it's getting a little yellow, your flowers may be hanging out here all at the bottom. If any of this sounds like something you're looking at when you look out at your containers or planters, what I'm going to do today is something that I recommend you do as well. So I am sacrificing a fairly happy at this time hanging basket, but I want to show you, it's important to show you what needs to be done. So get out those scissors or trimmers or whatever your favorite trimming device is, and I'm going to trim to the bottom of this hanging basket. So I'm going to just trim that foliage right there. Now if we look underneath here, you're seeing a lot of dead. So I'm going to try to get some of that removed as well. So we're going to go ahead and just take the scissors, grab a handful of foliage, and start trimming. And as you notice, I'm not really paying attention to where on the plant I am doing the trimming. I'm just cutting. So the varieties in this container are the Bermuda Beach and also the Saffron Finch Super Petunias. Both excellent varieties of petunias. The thing we like best about Super Petunias is they don't need any deadheading. They self-clean, the wind blows, and it cleans all of the spent blooms. These are both vegetative petunias, which means they don't come from seed. So they have one job, and that job is to continue to bloom all summer long. If you have seed petunias, their job is to produce a seed, and when that happens, the plants stop flowering. You have to pick at them to keep them blooming all summer. So those Super Petunias, they're definitely not your grandma's petunias. See here, I'm trimming it. And yeah, I'm sacrificing flowers at this point, but I know that this is just going to be much better this summer because of it. Now I could stop here at this point. I've got the length off for the most part off this hanging basket. Oh, nope, there's one. Let's get that off. All right, so I've got most of the length off of this basket. And looking at it, the top, pretty colorful, looks pretty nice, but I'm going to go a step further. I'm going to cut this even more. I understand. I'm going to be sacrificing color on my basket for approximately 2 weeks. I'm okay with sacrificing color for 2 weeks to know that this basket is now gonna last me through the summer to Labor Day if I keep it watered properly and fed properly. So let's go. We're gonna go and take even more off. And if you weren't crying before, I'm sure you're crying now. And getting rid of all of the flowers. So by doing this, what's happening is I'm creating opportunity for this plant to branch out. when a plant branches out, it creates, basically if you cut it, you're going to get 2 branches, and that gives this plant more opportunity for more flowers. So even with perennials, we'll go in and we'll trim our perennials back because it's giving more branching, which will then be more flowers throughout the summer. And I'm just doing a very light trim on this, on the top, because it is pretty nice looking. So as I'm getting these flowers off, you'll notice it's still fairly green here on the inside. Some of the planters are yellow, and if they're yellow, then I will trim them back even further. But because this one still has a fairly nice green canopy, I'm not trimming it back too far. Just getting some of this legginess off, some of this weight. All right. And it did. It looked much better when we started, and I'll admit that. But I'm also telling you that that planter would not have carried me through the summer with beauty. All right. One little area here. Let's get the last of the color gone. Okay, let's take a look. And hold it up like this, just kind of even it up, shape it up a little bit. If you have a little pedestal you can do this with, that way you don't have to do it with your arm. Let's see, there's a dead spot that we didn't even know was in there, but it's there. So let's go in and just trim that out. And then actually in the end I did trim it shorter than the bottom of the pot, but I'm not concerned at all. Oh, there's a dead one, a little dead spot. Just get rid of that. I do tend to trim on the aggressive side of things, as you can see. All right, so there we go. Nice and trimmed. Got it shaped up pretty good. Here's that little dead spot. We're gonna just get rid of that. Let's let it branch out with new fresh. A little tall here, so I'm gonna get rid of those as well. And you know what? I'm not gonna leave these flowers. We're gonna get rid of those as well. All right, now what I'm gonna do is just run my hand through and make sure that there's not any long pieces that kind of got tangled in. It's looking pretty good. Oh, here's a little dead part, so let's get rid of that. There, okay. So now we've got it trimmed back. And you're thinking, Heidi, why? Why did you do this? This thing looks terrible. And it does. Right now, it does not look good. But I want to show you something. This planter here, a little bit different flowers in it, but they're still petunias. This planter was trimmed about 2.5 weeks ago. Looked something similar to that. And within 2.5 weeks, with proper watering and proper fertilization, look at this plant. It's beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. You can see how all the flowers are now at the top of the planter. It's going to continue to trail as the summer goes on, but look at that. A nice, beautiful, full canopy of color. Now, what did we do to make that happen? Fertilizer. I told you need to fertilize your plants at least once a week. And fertilizer is one of the key parts to keeping your plants looking nice, in addition to obviously watering them well. So I brought out a vase with water, and I brought our Proven Winners water soluble fertilizer. This here is magic. Basically, it's 24-12-17, and the thing I like about the Proven Winners fertilizer is the iron that they use in this is easily absorbed by plants that are bound up. So what does it mean when your plant's bound up? A lot of times once your plant starts turning yellow, it just does not absorb the iron properly, and it'll have a hard time greening up. But the iron that is used in the Proven Winners fertilizer is good even when plants are bound up. It's easily absorbed by the plant. It'll help make your greens greener, and it's going to encourage flowering. So it's going to help encourage to get this plant to kick it in, get beautiful foliage and lots of flowers. Now, one thing that might seem a little different than what you're used to is the color of this fertilizer. So you take a 1 gallon container. This is just a little shy of a gallon, but I wanted to show you the clearness so you can see what this is looking like. You take 1 scoop of this powder and you mix it in. And one thing you're going to notice is, probably shouldn't have my hand in here, but it's okay. You're going to notice the color of this fertilizer is unlike what you're probably used to seeing. You usually mix up your water-soluble fertilizer and you're seeing shades of blue. That's not the case with a Proven Winner fertilizer. The iron that is used has more of this burgundy-ish, blackish, little bit of bluish coloration. So when it mixes up and this is the color you're seeing, this is perfect. This is just what you want to see. So what I recommend doing is once a week, pick your day. Let's say Saturday is the day that you're going to go out, water, and fertilize. Here in the middle of the summer, you should be watering daily, but fertilizing, I know most of you, if I can get you to fertilize once a week, you're doing good. This package actually tells you to fertilize every 3 days. So if you're somebody who can get out there and fertilize every 3 days, your plant is going to thank you for it. But if it's once a week, your plant is still going to thank you for getting it fertilized. So we're going to go ahead and dump this fertilizer into the hanging basket. One thing that's important, especially this time of the year as well, a lot of times if people have not been watering well, their root ball is very dry and has a hard time absorbing the water. So when you water, we want to make sure that the water gets saturated into the root ball, which has the roots, and we want those roots to get this fertilizer. So if I pour this in and it immediately just goes around the edges and drips out the bottom, that tells me that my root ball is not getting into the fertilizer it needs. So let's go ahead and get this watered and fertilized. I'm going to just kind of spread it around a little bit. All right, so we're not dripping through the bottom right away. That's a good sign. That means my soil here is absorbing this fertilizer. And we're going to wait and we're going to watch. We want to make sure that the amount of fertilizer and water I gave this plant is enough that it's going to saturate the full root ball and drip through the bottom of the container. Once we start seeing it drip through the bottom of the container, we'll know that there was enough water and fertilizer to make this plant happy. It's going to take a little bit because it's going in and it's going down. All right, here we go. I'm starting to see the trickle, which is a good sign. We didn't see the trickle right away, and I was hoping we wouldn't. It took a little minute, and now we're starting to see the trickle. So that's telling me now that my planter has fully absorbed the water fertilizer mix and is now getting rid of any excess that it doesn't need. 2 weeks, this plant is going to be beautiful and looking similar to something like this. Give them a trim, a light haircut. We all know how it feels when we get our hair cut, really refreshing, and feed them. Feed them with your Proven Winners or your favorite water-soluble fertilizer once a week at minimum, and they're going to reward you for it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.